did all these things. But to be honest with you, at that point, I was kind of thinking about it. It was kind of a wow moment. I was like, I have no idea what any of that means.
Cattle Call Podcast. Got a great new guest, Luke Reilly.
What's up?
How you doing?
I'm good, man. How are you?
Good. Luke, what's new, man?
Man, working.
Working.
It's been busy. Lord has been really kind to me in this season with everything going on. I've been able to stay really busy, and it's been good.
And where do you work at?
I work at Windyke Country Club, so I'm one of the golf professionals on staff. I do a lot with the teaching out there, so junior programs and just overall lessons, and then help out as an assistant professional in the golf shop. So I get to spend some time indoors, but most of my day is outdoors. Really enjoy that part of it. It's been great.
So you pretty much play golf for a living?
Yeah. I wish. It's one of those occupational hazards where it's like you think, oh, he's a golf pro, he'll play a lot of golf, and it's like,
no,
not so much, but I do get to play. I'll play whenever I'm not very busy. Or I'll force the wife to come out. Thankfully, she is very supportive of it and wants to learn how to play. So on Sunday afternoons, usually after church, we got nothing going on, and that's one of the days we'll go out there. That's always a lot of fun. I enjoy that. So it's not just me out there. I get the wife out there too. She's
so
enjoying
you and
it.
your wife playing golf.
Mm-hmm.
Man, does that strengthen your marriage?
I think so. It definitely it shows her how tough my job is, because it's tough to teach your wife. I'd say to every married man out there, like they probably know the. And I haven't been married that long, but trying to teach your wife something or teach them something that you do well, is very difficult. She has very high expectations. I'm like, hey, look, but you can do this. I'm like, well, I've been playing for 20 years. You've been playing for 20 days. Like, come on. But no, she's definitely. I tell her, you're one of my tougher students, you know.
Yeah.
She gets a kick out of that. But no, it's been a blessing to do that, just because it's an opportunity to show her what I love to do and how it's part of my life, and I think she gets to see a side of me that she doesn't really see, where I'm really honing in on her as a student of the game, rather than my wife. So she kind of sees the very. I'm not super analytical, but when it comes to the golf swing, it's I can be very analytical about things, and she gets to see that. I think she gets a kick out of it.
Man, that's great. So you are a golf professional. Is your title?
So my title is Luke Reilly, PGA. Sounds super fancy.
Yeah.
But it just shows that I'm part of the Professional Golf Association of America. So I'm a PGA professional. Went to school for that pretty much, where I was a marketing major, but concentrated in professional golf management at Mississippi State.
Mm-hmm. Hail State.
That's right, Hail State, man.
Yeah.
Tough year so far with the air raid, but we're still hanging in there.
Yeah, it's actually a building year.
It is definitely a building year.
Yeah.
Leach had plenty of 6-6 seasons, so we're.
Yeah, that's bowl eligible. So.
I've got 6-6 is bowl eligible. I have faith. It's brand new system, so I was worried for a second. I was like, look, it's first year. Yeah. It's gonna be fine.
Yeah. Being from Tennessee, the Tennessee Vols are our state team.
Yep.
And every single year, I think we've lived in Tennessee, has been a building year. Mm-hmm. And the whole thing is this year's our year. And then you lose to Georgia State. And they're like, all right, well, it's still a building year. It's a young coach. It's a young team. And then next year, it's still a building year. And then I remember you guys were number 1 in the nation. The first year I came to college. Mm-hmm. So half my graduating class goes to Tennessee, and it's going to be a really good year. This year's their year. And then little old Mississippi State goes number 1 in the nation. I'm like, oh, man. Not only are they the best in the SEC, they're the best in the nation. I thought it was Tennessee's year. So congratulations to you guys for that.
That's going to be a trivia question one day, and I'm going to get that one right. And that's going to bring me a lot of joy, just knowing that we were the first ever team to be number 1 in that college football playoff. Initial rankings. Since then, we haven't really ever sniffed it, but we're doing our best. We're doing our best.
I remember watching one game. It was, I think y'all went 5-7, and you played Miami, Ohio, and it came down to a field goal to win it.
Oh yeah.
You're like, oh man, what happened to the team that was number 1 in the nation? Because you're 5-7, and Miami, Ohio takes you to the final seconds. You know,
It was a good game though.
it was a great game. If you like football,
The Red Hawks, man, you gotta watch out for those Red Hawks.
Yeah, so why'd you go to Mississippi State?
So I grew up. So I'm from Long Island, New York.
Let's go.
Grew up. My dad's from Ireland. He came over from Ireland when he was 21 years old.
Oh wow.
He was not allowed to play golf as a kid just because he grew up on a farm. His mother basically is like, "You're not gonna play golf because like that's not us. Like you're not gonna spend your time doing that. Like we work on a farm. Like this is what." And he was like dead serious. I was like, "Dang!" Like so when he came over here, he told me like one of the first things he wanted to do was like start playing golf. So he lived in Far Rockaway, New York. And there was a pitch and putt there, and him and his brother and a friend he was living at the time, they started playing golf, and that pretty much he didn't play a ton, but like he loved golf, loved watching it. Like I remember growing up, and he started getting me into it, and we would just watch golf on Saturdays and Sundays. Like that's what we did together. Like I would just sit there, and we'd just be watching golf for like hours. He'd fall asleep, but I'd still be watching golf. So I quickly kind of fell in love with the game just because he loved it so much, and got involved with the First Tee program, which is at the time was a program that was really trying to engage the community and get people that really didn't have the funds or the ability to get involved in golf involved with the game. So really underprivileged kids.
And this is in Long Island?
This is in Long Island. Okay. So I got to be part of that program and really was like a person like that was participating in class, and then quickly transitioned into someone that was teaching the class. So in 7th grade, I was volunteering and kind of teaching the life skills, the classes, and the golf kind of skills involved in the program to kids. And I kind of over the next 5 years realized like, man, like I really love this, and kind of talked to my boss at the time. I was like, how did you become this guy? Like, did you go to school for this? Like, did you just start doing it? He goes, well, hey, like you should look into like professional golf management. I was like, what is that? And so I was a sophomore at the time, and
sophomore in high school now.
Sophomore in high school, and I pretty much decided like, I love golf. I really love the idea of helping people learn golf and just helping others in general.
Right.
And said, oh man, I'm gonna look into this. And Mississippi State was one of the schools, and Mississippi State wound up being the only school that gave me an academic scholarship. Nice. Don't know how I got an academic scholarship, but they gave me one anyway. They were like, okay, this guy from New York, we want him. Like we need one of these guys. So they gave me a scholarship.
Yankee down there, yeah.
Exactly. And I basically, my parents were like, hey, this is where you're going. And I liked Mississippi State a lot. I really wanted to go to NC State, but went to Mississippi State.
North Carolina State?
Yeah.
Okay.
But went to Mississippi State, and I mean, fell in love with it pretty much from the get-go. And that's kind of all that is what led me down there. It's just the golf program in general. The First Tee program was kind of the gateway that said, hey, we're going to do this. We want to do this. So.
Okay. So did you visit Mississippi State before you actually went down there? Okay.
My dad and I drove down. I think we drove down twice. We drove down, I think, my junior year just to visit and kind of check it out. And like he loved it, and he grew up on a farm, so like he's in Ireland, so it's like green. It's just like animals, like nothing really. So when we were driving down there, he's like, "Man, this is great." I'm like, "Man, where the heck are we going?" Like, and I got down there, and I was just like, "Wow, like this is pretty crazy."
You liked it immediately?
I was a little worried just because I was like, this. It was a little bit of a different vibe. Like people were different. Like people were friendly. Like I wasn't used to like almost like I thought it was like weird how friendly people were, but it's the South. I mean, now it's just like, yeah, it makes a ton of sense. Like people are just nice to each other, but like up north, it's so cutthroat. I was used to very just like, I mean, just having to be aggressive and kind of being like looking out for yourself. We're down there, like everyone's just like not nonchalant, but just like very caring. Like, hey, how are you? Like they'll take the time to do that. So it was cool. And like when I went down again, I kind of knew I was like, yeah, I'm gonna do this. It was funny, like. My parents, since I got a scholarship, my parents were like, hey, we're gonna get you a car so you can drive down there.
Nice.
They're like, if you flunk, like we're gonna take it back. I was like, okay, I'm fair with it. I'm cool with that.
Yeah.
And I literally, like my dad, I think originally he wanted to like get me, like he wanted me to get a Volkswagen for who knows why, other than him like in his dad mind saying this is the car we need. And I was like, no, like everyone's gonna have an American made car. Like we're in the South now. Like people are gonna be driving like Chevy Fords and
They're gonna
Dodge. Like
paint a bunch of stuff
I
on
was
my
like,
car.
if I have a Volkswagen, people are gonna be like, who is this guy?
Yeah.
That's literally what I thought of the South. I was like, it's
Yeah.
just a bunch of people that drive American-made trucks and just yeehaw and like that's just what it was. And I was like I was almost taken back, like flabbergasted. Like when I finally got down there, I was like, oh, like there's girls driving around Benzes and Beamers down here. I could have had the Volkswagen if I wanted, but it was definitely a culture shock. I think it took people longer to adjust to me than for me to adjust to them. Like about a week and a half, 2 weeks, and I was like, I can get used to this. Like I got Chick-fil-A, I got warm weather, I can play golf. I was like, this is pretty awesome.
Right.
But people are just like, who is this guy wearing Air Force Ones and like baggy shorts and like T-shirts, just looking like they're.
So you're a pretty city boy.
Yeah, I mean, I dressed up like I was like going to play basketball. I was dressing up comfortable.
Yeah.
Where like I'm looking at guys that are rushing and they're all like in their loafers and their pants, and I thought that was the strangest thing. Now I've kind of transitioned into like, I like wearing my loafers and my pants, but originally I was in like my white Nikes and my basketball shorts, just looking like a goof, and people were just looking at me like, what is this guy doing? And I was just like, I'm going for comfort here, guys.
Yeah.
But it was definitely fun. I got to be friendly with a bunch of kids from Tennessee and Georgia and Alabama and Missouri, so I kind of quickly was able to kind of assimilate it. I picked up y'all. I think y'all came in about a year in. Like I said it one day and I was just like, ooh, did I just say y'all? I was the used guys. Like I was like, used guys, what are we doing? And they're like, dude, that's like, too many words. Like y'all. I'm like, no, used guys. Like that's the way it's done. And it's funny, like words, I'll say something, I'll start talking fast and the accent will come out a little bit. But now I feel like when I go back home, it's like, what is your accent? I'm like, it's a weird mix of like everywhere because I've lived in a bunch of different places.
But
I think the South is kind of, like I sound Southern enough now where people don't. Wouldn't know that I was from New York. So I kind of like that. It's like, just like it's a good conversation. Like I'm from New York. Like really? Like,
when you said a couple minutes ago, I think Pete, my roommate, had maybe mentioned something about New York one time. But because I love New York. I talk about it on the podcast. But yeah, nothing about you seem northerner. I mean, I haven't ridden with you. You may drive like a northerner.
I would say I drive like a northerner.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say I'm like crazy, but I get to point A to point B in a quick amount of time.
I love that.
I'm not moseying around. Like I like to leave early, get there early, but I like to get there quickly. It's like, hey, we're gonna weave, but in a safe manner.
Right.
We use blinkers.
Check your blind spot.
Blind spots. Like I'm being safe, but like I'm not just driving to just kind of cruise. I'm like, hey, we're gonna get there.
Yeah, and that's the whole stereotype about the South is, like comedians talk about it. And it's just, everyone just kind of mows around lazy. Like the light turns green. If you want to go, just whenever you're ready.
The light turns green. Like that means like
let's roll.
As soon as I see it, I'm like, all right. But I'll be sitting in a light and people are just like sitting there and they'll kind of like look to the side and I'm like, are y'all gonna go? And then like I honk and then I feel bad for honking. But it's just like it's like looking at me like. Give me like the wave, like what's wrong? I'm like, hey, come on, I got somewhere to be.
Yeah,
let's go.
That's why I'm out here. Yeah. So where all did you live? When you said you've lived all over.
So through the program, I got to do 16 months of total internship. So it's one of those things. I feel like I had some like FOMO over like studying abroad and stuff. Like I never got to go to Europe and do that thing, but my program forced me to. I'm not forced. It was a requirement that we went on internships. We had to do 16 months of internship. My first one, I did 3 months in Hagerstown, Maryland, at a small club there. It was Fountainhead Country Club, and that was cool. I got to experience a new place. I was dating a girl from back home at the time that went to school in University of Maryland. So I was like, I got to get back close to home. So that's how I ended up there, and that was a cool experience because I got to spend going to DC a bunch. I was close to home, so I could go home.
Did you get to kind of pick where you?
Yeah, we got to apply and interview and stuff like that. So I got that job.
So that's why you picked Maryland.
And that's why I picked Maryland. Close to home and the girlfriend at the time. And then my next one, I kind of got the opportunity. Like they were like, hey, you should interview for this job. Like we kind of recommended you. So I got a chance to go work at Olympia Fields Country Club in Olympia Fields, Illinois, which is just south of Chicago, about 30 minutes. And that was really cool. I'd never been out west really to that point. So
that's out west to you.
That was out west to me because I kind of lived in that Long Island bubble for my whole life.
Yeah.
So I'd never been to Chicago. Like I never really met anyone from up there. So that was a cool experience. I thought like the people there were really interesting and like very friendly. Like they reminded me of like a Northeast city, but like with a little bit of a Southern charm. Just still a little like they had a little bit of that aggressiveness to them. So I kind of liked that. I kind of fit in there. But that was really cool just because it was a very well respected club. It's had some U.S. Open. It had the U.S. Open. It had some big USGA events there. So that was an awesome experience. Got to learn a lot there. And then my last one was at Yeamans Hall Country Club in Charleston, South Carolina.
Let's go. Yeah.
So the job wasn't my favorite, just because it was really slow, and I like being busy. So that being slow, I just felt like I was very complacent. It was just I played a lot of golf, which was cool, but I didn't learn a whole lot. I didn't get to learn about the things I thought I needed to learn at that point. But the great thing was I was in Charleston.
Yeah.
And
how'd you like Charleston?
Charleston was, I love Charleston. I tell anyone that ever asks me about Charleston, like, Charleston's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, just the people, the city, just everything. You're so close to the beach, and I grew up by the beach. It's like I could go to the beach. There was some really cool restaurants, like King Street. It was the college town, but then you can go out and like you're in like nice suburbs and communities. It was a beautiful place. So I highly recommend Charleston as like I wouldn't say I would want to like definitely live there. I would live there. But I think as a vacation or just like a trip, it's really cool.
Yeah. Has Haley been?
Haley hasn't been. Her sister was just there.
Oh, no kidding?
Yeah. So she was just there and in Savannah. So I know Haley's like saw that and was like, I know that's in her mind now. It's been in bed like Charleston. Yeah. But we've talked about Charleston. I think we're going to do that at some point.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Now, how did you and Haley meet?
So Haley and I, when I moved here, I think Haley had been here for several months, maybe a year, but she'd been here several months before I moved to Memphis. Okay. Yeah. I kind of got to Memphis it was weird. We could talk about that. But I met Haley. I basically, one of my close friends, LG Spencer from college, was in Memphis. We had been hanging out more since I had moved here, and we were at a concert one night. I kind of just asked her about church and where she'd been going to church. At that point in my life, I felt like I needed to kind of get plugged back in.
Were you saved at this point or not?
I wasn't. So I wouldn't say I was in a bad place.
Yeah.
I was okay. I was in a decently bad place. It wasn't like my lowest point, but I was definitely kind of searching at that point. I didn't really know. I was like, I need to go to church. Didn't know why. I just kind of felt like I need to get back into a community, and got hanging out with LG. She basically brought up Harvest, and Haley had been going Harvest. So one Sunday when I was going with LG, she introduced me to Haley.
Okay.
We literally said, I think, like 3 words to each other. It was like, "Hi, I'm Luke. Hey, I'm Haley." And then we sat there in service and like, bye, like, bye, nice to meet you. And then like I think it was about a month later, she started working at Windyke.
Okay, and you were already working at Windyke.
And I moved to Memphis and was working at Windyke at that point, and I was just like, oh, she's here now. So that was just an easy opportunity just to get to know someone. And I wouldn't say I was pursuing her at that point,
right?
But it was just cool that I was like, oh, I know her from church. She works here now, and like we just kind of became friends that way, and we kind of started hanging out in the same friend groups just because I knew her, and it just worked out that way. So that's how we initially met. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then how long before y'all started dating?
I would say so. I was saved in July of 2018. And I kind of at that point in my life decided like I'm not going to like date.
Yeah.
Until I feel like it's time. So I think it was 2 or 3 months later. I think it was kind of at the end of August, we kind of decided, you know what? I decided, I'm gonna ask this girl to go out, and you can ask her. You can even ask some of my friends. Like I feel like I'm a good talker. Like in like a group setting, like I'm very comfortable like around girls in group settings. But like the idea of asking her on a date, I was just like absolutely mortified.
Really,
it was just terrifying. Never been good at that. Always just feel like I butcher it just with words. So I go down to the office where she's in. And I'm like, hey, like we should go mini golfing. Like, I told you I was going to give you a golf lesson. Like, we should go mini golfing. She said, that would be fun. Yeah. And we go mini golfing, and like, I'm like, you want to get some ice cream out of this? She's like, oh yeah, that'd be fun. And
does she know this is a date?
No idea. Okay. This is a date. And it's Haley. Like, if you guys know Haley, some of you guys may know Haley.
Yeah.
She I can read between lines. Like, I think that's just my upbringing. But with her, I just don't think she realized what I was trying to do. So I think at this point, she just thought we were friends.
Right.
She was like, oh, like, my friend Luke wants to take me mini golfing because he said he was going to teach me how to play golf. And like, I helped her with putting, but like, in my mind, I'm like, smooth, dude. Like, you totally like rock that. And she's just like right over. I mean, just and right over her head.
You're just holing one after holing one over here.
I mean, I'm just putting on a show out here. I'm just like, man, I'm killing it right now. And she's just like, oh, this guy's like a great friend. So we kind of, I think after that, I called her that night after I dropped her off, and I was like, hey, like, you realize like that was a date, right? And she was like, wait, what? I was like, yeah, like that was a date. And she's like, oh my gosh, like, why didn't you just say so? I was like, oh, I thought I did. And it was one of those things. That's kind of like, and that was like a really good point in our relationship where we were at that point, like we had become really close friends. So for me, like at that, like knowing that she was comfortable with that, like, I just kind of pursued her as like, this is my best, not my best friend at that point, but this is one of my close friends.
Yeah.
This girl is a sister in Christ, and I'm going to pursue this as she's my sister in Christ. Like, I'm going to just get to know her and hopefully become best friends. Like,
yeah,
my goal was like, I don't want to go straight into like girlfriend.
Yeah, so wise, man.
My previously, my mind would have gone to other places and would have gone to fleshly desires, and it was a good moment where I was like, wow, like, I feel like I can pursue her knowing that I'm not going after her in that way. And it just made my walk with the Lord, and even just knowing that she was walking with the Lord, like our walk together, just made that so much more like fruitful and just enjoyable as we went through that season. So it was cool.
And how long did y'all date before you got married?
We dated 9 months. 9 months, and then I proposed to her in July of last year. And then we were engaged for 5.5 and got married in January of 2020, January 11th.
Right before COVID.
Oh,
pre-COVID wedding.
I will always be like, aren't you glad that I pushed? Like, she wanted like May, like she wanted to kind of do it around spring where it wasn't getting too hot. And I was like, no. I was like, we're not waiting a year. Come on. Like, let's get this show on the road. Like, it's January. Things will cost a little bit less. I was like, we can go on the honeymoon then. It's like, I have a bunch of downtime. Like, that would be exciting. And I don't even remember how I was able to convince her to do it. But her mom, I think, helped me with that. And
Mom.
I was like, thank you, Lord, that we did this, because we'd still be trying to get married right now, I feel like. Right?
Oh, yeah.
I feel like because I know, I think I know deep down, like, even me personally, like, I think, like, we were both like, yeah, we want to do a wedding. Like, we wanted to do that. And so I'm really thankful that we did.
You'd have a 3-year engagement. Man, that's awesome. So how did you get saved?
Yeah, so that's I would honestly say it's kind of crazy, and I'll go even before I moved here. I dated a girl out of high school. We dated long distance while I was down at state, and
this is the one that went to Maryland.
This is the one that went to Maryland, and I think the way I grew up, I mean, I felt I was a pretty confident person, but there's definitely, like, we all have insecurities. We all have things that we struggle with, and I felt like at that point, like, I'd never dated a girl up until senior year of high school, and like once we started dating, I think that became almost a crutch, and that kind of became like the focal point or the center of my life. And I mean, she was a great girl, and she's doing wonderful things now, and I'm extremely proud of her and everything. But it just, after college and I moved back home, and we started like dating, like we're like together now. It didn't work out. It was one of those things where it was like, dang, like I came back home, ended kind of abruptly, kind of got the hammer dropped on me. I was just like, at that point, I was just like, wow, like I'm here. And I had a buddy that was close to me that was there, and I think I started drinking a lot more, and I was just doing a lot of things that I think was me trying to cope with the fact that my lifeline or my crutch basically was taken away. So I was in a pretty dark place, and it was crazy. One day I was on Facebook, and it's like, I never really saw anything about Christ on Facebook or God, but someone had shared, it was a series called Relationship Goals, and it was from a church. So I'm like, oh.
Was it the Michael Todd series?
It was Michael Todd, yeah, from Transformation Church. And I'm like, oh, man, I need to see this. Like, I'll learn something about, like, girls and, like, dating. Like, oh, yeah, this is what I need right now. Yeah. And I was such an idiot. I'm like, I'm just, like, not even realizing, like, this is a pastor. He's about to talk about relationship goals. My mind's going to women. It's like, how can I know, what can I learn about God that'll help me with women? It's like, what am I? It's crazy. And I look back, and I'm like, I wish I could just be like, dude, come on. But it's just, that's where I was. And through that series, I realized, like, it's pretty, like, I watched, like, I think 2 episodes in a row because I was just, like, into it. I was like, and by the start of the 3rd one, I was like, man, like, this man is talking about my relationship with God, not my relationship with the girl. And I kind of sat back, and I was like, I don't have a relationship with God.
And you're in New York at the time?
I'm in New York at the time. And I grew up a Catholic. Grew up in the Catholic Church, and went to CCD and was baptized, did my confession, was confirmed, did all these things. But to be honest with you, at that point, I was kind of thinking about it. It was kind of a wow moment. I was like, I have no idea what any of that means. And I was like, I don't know anything about God. I really don't know anything about Jesus. I just know, like, Jesus died on a cross. There's Easter. He was born on Christmas. Like, God is good. Like, I need to be a good person because if I'm a good person, God loves me. And I just had this very, like, if I'm a good person, me and God are cool. Like, this very, like, saved by my works. Like, I was like, I have to, and that's the kind of how I lived. It was like, yeah, now I'm coping with loss by drinking a lot, but, like, I'm exercising and I'm doing yoga and I'm treating my family right and I'm doing great at my job and I'm, like, being very servant-hearted. It's like, so I'm good. Yeah. But it was all for self-glorification. Like, none of it was for glorifying God, and that's a whole bunch of that led me to one day I got a phone call, and it was like, hey, man, Taylor just left the club. This is my buddy Andrew. He's like, we're looking for a teaching pro. And I'm just like, huh.
And this is Windyke?
This is Windyke in Memphis. And I'm just like, then I got a phone call from a guy who used to work there. He's like, man, you need to do this. I was like, why? He goes, just, you need to do this. Like, this is a great opportunity.
Had you been to Memphis at that point?
I had never been to I'd been to Memphis once. And I was one of my best friends is from Germantown. So we had been here for 4th of July. Okay. I never spent time in Memphis.
Right.
And I kind of just had this, like, tugging at my heart. I was like, you know what? Why not? Like, what do you have to lose now? Like, you don't have your, like, in my mind, I was like, I have nothing here. Like, I might as well go. Mm-hmm. So I wound up just kind of just like, you know what? Let's do it. And, like, I was in a really busy season at work, and, like, my boss at the time was like, what? Like, you're moving? Like, why? Why are you moving to Memphis? Like, you were leaving us in a pretty tough pinch right here.
Where were you working up there?
I was working for a place. It was called Golf Tech. Okay. It was an awesome place, and I really enjoyed my time there, and I learned a ton. And my boss was a fantastic guy, and we still keep in touch. But I was just like, dude, like, I just feel like I need to do this. Like, I feel like I'm in a place in my life where I need to make a change. And, like, in my mind, moving to Memphis was like God's way of, like, oh, I'm gonna get you out of here, and, like, you can do your thing and, like, live your life and be, like, you're gonna be good. And I got down here, and I kind of was I was still drinking. I was still just kind of living in my own flesh and my own sin, and just trying to deal with it on my own. And I was like, well, I moved down here. Like, why do I still feel like I'm just missing something? Why do I feel like I can't, like, me working out a ton and me getting in great shape and me eating healthy and me going to work and doing all these things? Like, I'm trying to meet girls. Like, why am I not feeling any better? And then fast forward, I meet LG out at a concert. We were friends, and she invites me to Harvest, and through Harvest, Bryce was preaching one Sunday, Bryce Rader, and it just kind of, like, I was like, it was something he said, or the sermon, where I just kind of, like, it wasn't like a gut punch. It was kind of like I just kind of had that feeling of conviction. And at that point in my life, I was like, I don't like this. Like, why do I feel really, like, awful right now? And I saw him at the country club, I think the next day or that week. He was remember out at Windyke, and I was like, "Hey Bryce, like I'm Luke Reilly, like I'm a pro out here. Like I heard your sermon on Sunday, and I really loved it. I was like, I'd love to like play golf with you sometime, and just like talk to you about some stuff." And he was just like, I basically just threw up this like softball, and Bryce
dude,
absolutely just hammers it out of the park. He was just like, "Absolutely, man. Like I'd love to play golf." And we played golf, and we started meeting, and I was just like, I was asking a lot of questions, and I remember, and I kind of started to think more about my faith, and just I talked to him like, "Man, I don't feel like I know God. I don't have what you have or what some of these people have." I was like, "What am I missing?" And he goes, "Well, have you repented of your sins and trusted in Jesus Christ?" And this is us playing golf one day on the 7th fairway of the East Course. It was a little bit before, I think it was either just before or just after 4th of July. I remember sitting there, and I was just like, I just literally had my mouth open. Like I just didn't know. Like I just didn't know what that meant. And I was just like, he goes, "I want you to think about that." And then we just kind of he just kept the conversation going about like my questions and stuff. But like that comment he made kind of like, it was stuck with me the whole day.
Right.
And that night I'm like laying in bed, and I'm just like sitting there staring at the ceiling. It's like one of those nights where you're just like, your body's tired, but your brain's just like
wide awake, man.
Nope.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there, I'm thinking like, have you repented of your sins and trusted in Jesus Christ? Like, if you put your faith in Jesus Christ, I'm like, I was like, I know I believe in God, but like, what does that mean? So I don't know, I just kind of had a stirring. I was just like, my mind was just like, dude, start talking to God. Like, start talking to him. Start telling him like what's going on. So I kind of was just like literally talking to myself out loud, but talking to God. And I just kind of, it led into just me just confessing kind of a lot that was going on in my life. And it was like very relieving. Like I just felt like there was a lot of stuff coming off my shoulders, my chest. And I told the Lord, I was like, I'm gonna put my faith in Jesus Christ. I was like, I've given him my sin. I want to live for him. I want to know what it's like to have that relationship with him. And from that point forward, like me and Bryce met almost weekly, and I felt like I mean at that point I look back and I was pretty on fire for a second. Like I was just like, I wanted to learn, and I literally knew nothing. I mean, I bought a King James Bible off Amazon, and like I had it in one of our meetings. He's looking at me. He goes, Catholic. "Is that King James?" Yeah. I'm like, "Yeah, bro, I got this on Amazon." He goes, "Can you read that?" I was like, "Not really." I was like, "Are all Bibles like this? I feel like this is." He goes, dude. And he gives me like an ESV. I was like, "Oh." Yeah. I was like, "What is this?" He goes, "Dude," he's like, that's like a very old translation that like people still have, and like they'll read, but like, I don't need you reading that when you're just gonna confuse yourself. So that was kind of where I was at. Like, so I wanted to like be involved, and I wanted to. Hey Lee, I wanted to. That's Lee, guys.
Lee loves making appearances on the podcast. He'll never come on and talk, but he just likes to come say hi. So you're reading ESV.
So I'm reading ESV, and it was just like I didn't know anything, and like, but we'd sit together, and like he'd read it to me, and we just kind of literally break it down, kind of word by word, verse by verse, and it just started to teach me like that the Bible wasn't just like this book that I didn't have a Bible, like we didn't read read the Bible in church. Like I thought that was crazy. I was like, man, reading the Bible, like everyone, like we'd stand up and read the Bible together. Right. I'm like, this is kind of cool. And I was like, I didn't have a Bible. I'm like, I want a Bible. So like that's why I got that one. But now it's like I started to realize like, wow, these words are not just like words. They're like this is God's breathed out. Like this is what He's said. Like this is how I can get to know God and like His character and who He is and like what He wants for us as humans. And I was like, this is kind of crazy. And that led me just into just like wanted to get involved in Bible studies and stuff. And from that point, I kind of was just going with it. I would try and read every day and spend a lot of time with Bryce until he left. And it was just one of those. It was crazy how I went from a place where I was lost. I mean, I was living for a lot of the wrong things. Yeah, thinking that I was doing the right thing. And kind of going after money and women and just going after like my own, like building myself up. Like I was like, I broke up with the girl when I stopped dating Allie. Like the first thing I want to do is like, I'm gonna get jacked. Like I'm gonna get jacked. I'm gonna start dating this girl. Like dating better. And it's just like my mind would just. And now it's just like, dude, I wish I could go back and be like, man, just wait, dude. Just wait.
Yeah.
Because, like, all that's cool. But, like, there's something so much better that you're about to find out about. And I'm truly blessed. And, like, I truly will, I'll tell people, like, I think the Lord was working in my life through those low points. Like, through those pretty low points, I feel like he was there just, like, just moving and making the things happen that got me here. So it was
sure. Yeah.
It was cool. Yeah.
Man, so is there anything about like Catholicism that you miss?
No.
Really?
The church I grew up in, it was a great community. Like we had our CYO athletics and like I ran track for those. It was St. Raymond's. There's a lot of really, really great families that we knew through that. But like I've been back, like I was unfortunate. I was in a church I've been in church for some funerals.
Oh yeah.
And just hearing kind of their take on they were saying prayers where it's like we lift him up to the Lord, and like these people are saying we lift him up to the Lord, and I'm sitting here going like, do these people think that this is me post Christ and kind of born again, just like knowing that my salvation is through faith. Like I'm saved by grace through faith in Christ. Like my works, nothing I do will get me or anyone else into heaven. Like no, I can't do anything to change my relationship with God or Christ other than putting my faith in him. And I'm sitting there in this funeral, and they're talking like we lift him up to the Lord, and I almost felt like do these all these people think that like just this is gonna like get him there? And like I was almost like heartbroken. Yeah. Because like I knew the man, and like I knew his brother, and I mean I could see how visibly upset his brother was, and it's just like I don't know if this man knew Christ. I don't know if this man knew God. And like these people all have a very false sense of we're going to heaven, and I'm just like, wow. Right. And it's just I look back and it's like that. That's kind of how I thought. I was like, oh well, we're good people. We do good things. We go to heaven. Like me and God are cool. Like I just kind of look at the scale. I'm like, all right, 2 points for Luke being a good guy today, and I did one kind of crappy thing today, but 2 beats 1, so I'm good right now. And that's how I feel like a lot. Now I'm not saying
most of the world operates.
And I'm not saying there's devout Catholics that know the Lord and like love the Lord. I think there's a lot of them. Yeah. I just think the setting I was in just didn't cater to that, and I never had that through the Catholic Church. But I imagine that the Lord is working through people that are Catholics, and I think that He's using them just like He's using us, just to share the gospel and stuff. I just think how I was being taught or approached, I never got anything out of it. Really? I just never knew.
Yeah. Yeah, it's tough, man. Especially like right now. So we have, Amy Coney Barrett is being confirmed, or at least the hearings for her in the Supreme Court. And she's a devout Catholic. Mm-hmm. And we've seen, let's just say, for the sake of the story, half of American Catholics have completely denounced her as, pick a descriptive word we use to describe people we don't like, whatever it is, whatever kind of phobic person. And then the other ones are like, oh yeah, this is the true Catholic. Yeah. So then you have, like at the VP debate, they're talking about Kamala Harris was saying how Joe Biden will be the second true Catholic ever to hold office if he's elected. But then his policies are completely, probably different. We don't really know what Amy Coney Barrett would vote on. Yeah. But, based off her record, she'd vote the opposite way of Joe Biden, but they're both true Catholics. So you're seeing this divide, and there's already the divide between the Protestants and the Catholics. And it really is a shame too, man, because I get to go to Mass, I think, about every year for Good Friday. Because honestly, Catholic churches are about the only churches that'll have Good Friday services. And everyone that I've been to they're super solid, and they're super gospel centered because it's Good Friday. Which, it's just, and the Catholic Church has this history of really like revering like God. And with it, you see like the way the churches are designed,
the beauty and the kind of elegance.
And just like this, we revere God, and you can see it in the way that we designed our sanctuary. and the way that we like even approach the altar, and the way you walk in and you kneel at the end of your row, and you have the holy wall, like you have all those little like reverence stuff that is cool. But then there's the other side to it, like when you watch The Sopranos and you kill somebody but you just go to confession, and then like, oh yeah, they're good, and like I'm still a mob boss, but like I'm good now because I did that. So yeah, it is tough, man. It's tough for sure.
Yeah, it was. And I like with my family, like I'd say, like my mom and dad, like I would say they will say they're Catholics, and like I've talked to my mom about like being saved by grace through faith, and like talking to her about her relationship with Christ. And like I bought her a Bible, and I'm sending her a Bible, and I'm like, I just want you to read this, not to like speed read it, but just to kind of, I said, I want you to read this as if like this is just God talking, and you're just trying to understand his character and understand like who he is.
Right.
Like this isn't like a homework assignment. And just our conversations, like she's kind of opened up to me like that, how like life isn't perfect. Like you grow up as like a 6-year-old, or through like from like 6 to like 14, you're like, wow, my family is perfect. Like all of our cousins and our family, like we are, there is nothing wrong with our family. Like everyone gets along. Then you turn like 18, and you're just like the switch flips, and you're like, where it's not perfect. Like people, there's things that go on, and like she's dealt with some stuff within her life, and we just talked about how like she's relied on Jesus and that she's prayed. And I told her, I was like, Mom, I truly think that you have a relationship with Christ and that you've put your faith in him, and I just want you to keep pursuing that. Yeah. And on the opposite hand, it's like my dad, it's like he says he prays and he says all these things, but like whenever I try and talk to him about Jesus, or just repenting and that forgiven people are forgiving people, we need to learn how to forgive one another, and the things that we've been wronged, like we just need to forgive those people. We need to bring that to the Lord, and that the Lord will help us through that. We're glorifying the Lord by doing that, by forgiving that person, like holding that grudge or that judgment. I mean, we can't judge that person. Like it's not our role. And it's very difficult with him versus her. It's like I could just see like her trust in Christ, where he still wants to hold on to his trust in himself. And that's like, it's one of my daily things is like, I just pray for my family, and just that they would know the Lord, and that the Lord would do in their lives what he did in mine. It's just, it's tough to see, especially when I'm this far away. It's like, I'm not around them every day, but just the conversations I have with Mom, it just makes me really happy. And just, I know that God is working in her life and on her heart, and that she's with my family, and that she can be that representation of Christ every day. So that it brings me a lot of peace. Or sometimes I'm very just anxious and very upset that I can't be there, like trying to pour into them and just and serve them in that capacity. So I know my mom's doing that, and it's cool. It's cool that I like that God is with her in that.
Yeah, that's awesome. Mm-hmm. Okay, kind of to wrap things up.
Yeah, man.
You as a golf pro and as a Christian, how do you use your job to glorify God?
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things. I'm in the service industry, so and I fail at it a lot, but it's one of those things where if I can love everyone that comes into the golf shop, or even the people I give lessons to, and build those relationships, I can pour into them in that way. I can get to know them and their families. I can ask them how I can pray for them. It's just seeing the same people every day. It's like I'm on a first name basis with a lot of people. I know their kids. Awesome. I know about their wives and their family's illnesses, and I'll just be like, how can I pray for you and your family? And it's like, and I'll learn through just asking those questions, like people that know the Lord already. And it's just like, here's a Christ follower that I have that I know. And it's just like, it's another person in my community. And it's like, wow, like I've never had anyone do that. It just opens up the door for that. And even my coworkers, a lot of them knew me before Christ. And I wouldn't say I'm not perfect. Yeah. But I truly try and do my job, not for my own glorification or for money, but to glorify God. So just loving them and supporting them and trying to be as servant oriented towards them and helping them as possible is I'm just trying to show them who Christ is through how I act and how I treat them and others. It's been a blessing, because it just makes, there's days where you don't want to be at work, or there's days, and it's just like, and I have to constantly remind myself, today is not, you're not at work, you're you're serving God. Like you're here to be an example of Christ and build those relationships in your community and reach the people that may not know Him. And it's very humbling and it's convicting because it's a daily. I have to remind myself daily, like this is, and I'm not mature in my faith at all. I mean, I'll be the first to say, like, I've known Christ for 2 years. Like, I have to use the index to go to find certain books in the Bible. Like, I'm not amazing by any standpoint, but I just don't allow that to kind of bother me. I'm just like, you're gonna be here to serve Christ as best as you can, and He's gonna use you in ways that you don't understand. So just if I can go every day, kind of attacking the day of like, hey, how can we just show people Christ today? That's my daily goal. That's what I want to do on a daily basis.
Dang. Well, I was going to ask you for a piece of advice, but that's a pretty good one for people right there. So that answer that.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things I want to like tattoo to myself. Because like there's days like I wake up late and it's like I'm in a rush and it's like I don't get my time in the Word or I don't get my prayer time and like, I don't get to love my wife well enough in the morning and I get to work and I'm just like in a sour mood. I'm just like kind of crabby and cranky and then I get halfway through the day. I'm like, dude, like what have you done today other than sulk and like complain? Like, yeah, that's real glorifying to God. And it's like,
yeah.
So it's like when I can get up and I can like be in the Word and like pray over my family and friends and my job and my community and then love my wife in the morning and take care of her and just get so much joy out of that. It's like, then I get to work and I'm like, I'm in like the harvesting mood. I'm like,
you're in a good spot. Yeah.
Like, how can I serve God today? Like, how can I pray for people around me? Like, how can I help the people in my community today? And it's just, it sounds super easy. And like, it is a good piece of advice. Like I use it myself, but it's like one of those things. Like I have to be diligent about that, or I'll have weeks go by where I'm out of alignment. Like me and God are just like, He's there. Like He's never left. It's not like He's gone, but like I've kind of just fallen off course a little bit, and I have to just like remind myself and like kick myself back in, and then like bam, like I'm on track again.
Yeah.
And it's just one of those things where a daily reminder is just anything to remind yourself daily. I've used Post-it notes. I want to tattoo it on myself somewhere.
Yeah.
Just be like, all right, here we go. I haven't gotten. I don't know if my wife would like that, but we're trying to figure something out where I'm like, okay, and that's for me. It's like I'll like my phone background.
Yeah.
Is like 7 things I need to do kind of in the morning before I get up. And it's like, I think the first thing is like take the dogs out, take the dogs out, open my Bible. It's kind of where I'm going to read. Start a pot of coffee. Read, pray, get ready for work. And when I do that and I get into a rhythm that like I feel like I'm really on a roll. And it's just like I'm not living for me anymore. Like I'm living for eternity and for that hope that I have. And it's a joy that I thought I was finding in my previous life, and that I was searching for in my previous life. And now, not pursuing those things, I found more joy in just pursuing Christ than in anything else I've ever done. It's been awesome.
And do you have a way you end the day too?
Probably need one. I would say, I mean, me and my wife, like when I get home, it's like I will pray at night in bed. And there was times where we'd pray out loud, and then there's times where we'll both pray silently. And I'll at night I will try and just lay there and I will pray and just kind of I will go through the day and thank the Lord for the day He's given me and the blessings He's provided me. And I also just kind of go to the Lord and be like, here's what I know I did today that doesn't glorify You, and here's what I just want to give to You, and I want You to just work in me and continue to shape me and mold me to attack each day for You rather than for myself. But I could probably use the same advice in the morning as my way to end the day. I could probably do both. So that's a good question. I'm going to be thinking about that tonight now.
There you go, man. Yeah, I mean, we all need it, but like the idea of these spiritual bookends to your day.
Yeah.
Yeah,
absolutely.
You're doing a lot better than I am. I know that. So keep it up, man.
It could be it could be streaky at times, but it's definitely. I mean, you could talk to anyone. It's like when we are in that zone of doing those things. I know we're locked in, and that's my goal is just to try and stay locked in.
There you go, Luke. Where can people keep up with you? Where can they follow you? See what you're doing.
Well, if you're a golfer, you got parents or golfers, you could just Luke Reilly Golf on Instagram, Luke Reilly Golf on Facebook. I've got a
Is it
Twitter.
Reilly?
Reilly. So I work a lot with kids and really with anyone. So, and even just to follow, I post a lot of stuff, just asking questions and even just educational stuff. If you want a quick tip or anything like that.
I'll have to talk to you after, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm trying to get your roomie Pete to listen to me. He thinks he's got it figured out, but we're working on him.
Yeah, you have to have Savannah tell him to do it, and he'll do it. So.
Yeah, that's. I'm actually might try that. That might be better for me.
There you go, man. Well, Luke, thank you for coming on, man.
Yeah, dude.
I definitely appreciate it.
I appreciate you, brother. Appreciate you having me on here. It's been great.
And thanks for coming on, even if your wife didn't want you to.
I mean, Haley's gonna be listening to this. Haley, it's okay. You don't have to be jealous. I mean, you might be. You might hear from his agent about coming on at one point.
Oh, I got a lot of people on the list, Haley. Yeah. We'll talk in a couple of years.
A couple of years.
Well, cool. Well, Luke, thank you, man. Thank you again.
Yeah, absolutely.
Everyone, that was Luke Reilly, Luke Reilly Golf.
That's right, man.
And we will see you on the other side.